Hi there. Welcome to another presentation of the Globe Sound Healing Conference. Now we have Jen Cunnings. Hi, Jen.
Hi, David.
Jen is a holographic sound healing practitioner, board certified holistic health coach, and Reiki master teacher. As an energy and sound healer, and with over a decade of professional experience, she has developed her own unique approach to harmonic sound alchemy. With a passion for helping people access their potential, she's worked with countless clients and witnessed the transformative power of sound healing. She's activated many to be a channel of light language and sound healing harmonics. She weaves crystalline healing, sound medicine, and light language for a transformative experience for her clients. She's passionate about teaching others how to use their voice to be sound healers.
Sounds about right.
Now, what have you been up to lately?
Well, just a little bit of that, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I would say that last sentence really encapsulates like what I feel like I'm here to do, not just with sound, but just really empowering people to, whether it's through their voice or, emotional healing, energy healing, and that we have such a powerful capacity to support ourselves in our transformation. And that's what I love teaching people.
It's kind of like the hidden medicine that is so amazing that you could actually heal yourself with your voice and heal others. It's
It
really, I've seen miracles all the time. I mean, every week, in classes, I mean, I've seen diseases go away. It's unbelievable, really.
It really is. And when I was taking my first class several years ago, you're learning and you're beginning to open your voice, right? You're beginning to like explore the possibilities. And I think the universe is like, hey, we're going to prove it to you. And this is one of my most favorite stories to tell is I'm literally walking out of holographic sound healing practitioner class and my ankle, I put all my weight, when your ankle just collapses and I fall to the ground and I'm in so much pain and I'm literally hopping to my car after I pick myself up. And I was like, all right, Jen, like, here's our chance. So I'm driving home. It's about a 15-minute drive and I'm just, toning and sending love through my voice, weaving in some light language. And I pulled up to the driveway, not a lick, not completely gone from, excruciating pain to zero. So I was like, okay, I'm a believer.
I had this one student, she fell off a house and could barely walk for about 10 years
Wow.
and simply made the sound of her pain in her leg and it disappeared completely and never came back after 10 years.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I'm sure there's so many stories we could, spend our time
yeah, we
telling.
could do it the whole time. So,
Yeah.
okay, so here's the big question. So, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do to help people on the planet?
Yeah, like that last sentence again, I would teach people. Like that is my passion is like in addition to sound as medicine, like our bodies are medicine, right? Our intentions are medicine. Like we all have this capacity to shift our energy, to shift our circumstances. And I think that so many people are just not equipped with the awareness or the know-how. And if I could change the world and I would teach every single person like how to do this for yourself with your voice, with your heart, and really like remember and recognize like you're not a victim, right? We're not separate. And I would just teach people like, hey, love is the answer. Stop fighting. Heal yourself, right? Because it all starts within. And I would teach people that they could do that within themselves, right? And our happiness and all that is within us.
I think it should be required in school for kids.
Yes. Yeah. We would be in a different world if we all, had these tools, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about overview of what you're going to be talking about and what you do.
Sure. As my throat starts clearing. So one of the things, specific to sound, obviously that's why we're here in this summit is, I really, after that class, after that experience, and, when my light language came in, I really began to apply to myself the power of sound. And I really believe that we have this magical capacity with our voices. As a matter of fact, I heard in meditation when I was kind of preparing to teach my first class that each of our voices are distinctly, designed and uniquely orchestrated to be our medicine, our own soul body medicine. I'm sure that's not you know, an astounding, fact for you, but for me, like, it came in, it's like our fingerprints, right? Every fingerprint is uniquely designed. And I just heard that our voices are our exact medicine. So I really believe also that we have, all of us to some degree, have shut down our voices, right? We've shut down our capacity to, like, speak truth, to express our true creation. We put on, facades, or we put on, different ways of being that aren't our true self. And then we also have, like, that persecution energy around really being in our truth. And so I find that when we begin to open up to sound, and that's what we'll share today, is it's just real basic, right? It doesn't have to be, we don't have to be good singers, right? We don't have to have, like, these amazing voices. We can awaken through our voices our ability to shift and transmute anything, right? Back to our ankle story and your off the roof story. So I really like to just teach the basics of this, whether it's just beginning to hum, whether it's beginning to connect with parts of your body to, sound the body, and just really beginning to apply, because that's really, like, the key. It's like, we can talk about sound healing, we can talk about the power of a voice all day long, but we got to do it, right? We got to wake up in the morning, get in the shower, sing in the shower, like, do the things that are going to begin to shift the energy. And back to your big question, like, if I could also add to that, you know, we require daily attention, right? Our bodies, our emotions, what's happening in our lives requires us to get connected and still, open our voices, open up our healing capacity, and really implement this consistently.
I think kind of one of the most important things that I often think about, I've talked with some people in the conference, is knowing when you're off,
Mm,
right? Knowing when you're at home and what home is. And that's so important
yeah,
because a lot of people are going around and thinking, oh, this is normal being anxious. This is
right.
normal being stressed. No, what's normal is no stress and no anxiety, no depression. And what is that when you're at peace in yourself?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's so important. So then the second you get off to go do the work.
Exactly. And you may, like you said, you may not know you're off until you actually get still and quiet and sit with yourself. I feel like I do this with my students all the time. Like, are you doing your daily work? Right? Whatever that daily work is, it could be different from day to day. Um, but if you're not willing to sit and get connected to yourself, right, then we're operating in our subconscious, default patterns of fear and anxiety and unworthiness or whatever showing up. But I think, awareness is key, like you said. And once we have that information, like, where am I at right now, where I'm at today, then you can bring your tools. And sound is just such the most, hey, it's right here in your back pocket. Your voice is not going away. It's right here for you. And it's so powerful to implement sound with your intentions and with our communion, with our energy in our bodies. So
And we had it down as babies. We were
that's right.
professional sound healers,
That's
right?
right.
Until one or two when it's like, shh.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so what are some techniques? What are some things that we could do to heal ourselves and get
sure.
ourselves back to home?
Well, one of my favorites, I've got a few favorites, obviously, but one of my favorites is to begin to just choose a place in your body that might need some attention. So as we just talked about, nice segue, is to, just kind of close down your eyes and kind of scan. And what I also recommend doing is to actually ask the consciousness of your body, what needs my attention right now? Where am I needing some love, some light? And 10 times out of 10, if we're willing to be still and present and ask our body's consciousness, the body will raise its hand. And oftentimes, different people have different ways of connecting and communicating with their body, but most of the time it's through a sensation. So right now, I can actually kind of tune in and ask my body, hey, body, like what would need some loving attention right now? And I immediately feel it in my throat. As I was mentioning, my throat chakra is doing some clearing today. Hopefully, for all of you listening, we can open up our throats. And then I also feel down in my sacral chakra. So just with that simple information, and here's the key. We don't need to know why. I don't need to know why my throat chakra is a little off right now. I don't need to know why my sacral's kind of waving a red flag as I'm asking some attention. All I know is there's something out of balance, like you said. That's it. That's all. So through the awareness of a sensation, and some people may be more clairvoyant and have like a visual, oh, I need to go here, or this person comes in. That's okay too. I just find the most simplistic thing that we can do, which is so powerful, is to actually commune with the space in our bodies.
Cool. What I look for now is buzzes,
Tell me
like
more.
which is really just tension. It's like a little like right now, if I checked in my body, my left neck where I broke out a windshield, it's kind of going a little bit, right? And if I look down my uh, solar plexus, it just has a little bit of buzz in it, not much. Little frustration this morning, and often go through the chakras because those are tied right to the endocrine glands. And then I look, okay, if I look at my heart, it's like it's not shut down. It's not, nothing's really going on, but it's not shut down. And then it's like, it's interesting. And I actually had a treatment yesterday in the conference, and this woman did a clearing and it opened up my crown. And I've
Mm-hmm.
over the last 2 weeks, I've had like kind of a third eye headache, and now that's
Mm-hmm.
gone.
Yeah.
So I'm I'm feeling pretty clear right now.
Yeah.
So that's what I look for is just chaos versus humming. And then if you really get into it, you can look for stagnation.
Mm-hmm.
That's you have to look much harder.
Yeah. And I think that's the practice, right? Is you begin to build this relationship with your body, right? And your body begins to trust that you're going to not just override it and ignore it, right? And avoid. And so from that, I see it as almost like you're starting off on like a game board, right? So, oh, right now I'm on my throat. So I'm going to start toning and making sound with my throat. Okay, that's starting to feel a little clearer. Where else, body? Oh, here I'm drawn down to my sacral chakra. Then your tone or your sound might change spontaneously. And this is where the practice is really helpful because, we could start off with one sound, but we want to really allow, the fluctuations to kind of happen organically and intuitively. It's like your higher self is playing the instrument of your body, and your job is to not worry about what the sound sounds like, right? Because it can even sound pretty intense and guttural, right? Like, and so it's really like a letting go and just letting, the sound kind of take its own life. And then, then we're in the sacral chakra, and, we could go through the whole chakras, as you said, like we could be structured with it, or we could just kind of see where we're led. And I've just noticed working on so many bodies and myself, like once one area kind of brings in some balance and harmony, another one will raise its hand, right? And say, "Oh, now my turn." And we and if we're willing to sit with it, if we're willing to be with ourselves, you could sit with yourself for a full hour singing to your body and really do some powerful clearing.
So you want to clear your throat?
Yeah. And I'll share this prior. I sang all morning, and I had to deliver some news to somebody that was challenging, and so it's kind of that, oh, if I'm really going to speak my truth, but I have to deliver hard news and somebody's going to be upset with me, right? And I'm sure there's more than just that story. Um, but I've been working on my throat for like the past 30 minutes prior to us getting on, and I can still feel some, you know, and I know I'm clearing. Like I cleared a ton because I'll start burping. Sorry for those of you, but it
Thanks
just,
for sharing.
yeah, it's just my mechanism of being like, oh, we're releasing a lot of energy right here. Yeah. So would you,
You want to go for it?
yeah, do you want to do it together?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or
Turn
am I
on
going to
your,
do it for myself?
well, do it for yourself first, because
Okay.
so we can watch.
I'll yeah. Um I'll do, and whoever's listening, right, now or later, like anytime you want to, chime in while I'm doing this for myself, this will be for you as well. And I think for everybody listening, we can just see what sounds come through. I might just start with humming and kind of see where it goes from there. Um, so I'll stop talking and start toning. But what I'll also do is I'll kind of walk you through my process before I begin. So I get still. I'm gonna put my feet firm on the ground, and I'll probably keep my eyes closed, but I might, since we're here, open them. David's already yawning over here. And I just begin to get settled in my body, right? And I acknowledge the parts of my body that are beginning to commune with me and connect with me, even though I haven't even asked. But I'll ask, like, consciousness, divine body, show me what needs attention, show me what needs love. And I immediately begin to feel almost like I've swallowed cotton in my throat. And then I also have a heaviness in my chest. And they feel related. Excuse me, there's me clearing already. And then I'll simply just begin to kind of settle in and bring all of my presence and all of my energy to these places in my body. And I don't have to be touching them, right? We can just use our intention. That's simple. And then once I feel like I've made that communion, I'm going to just gather up love. I'm going to gather up light. I'm going to gather up, maybe there's a specific intention. Or what I might also do, as David mentioned earlier, is actually create the intention to sound whatever the energy is that's stuck here. So I kind of usually do two approaches depending on what I feel like I need. For this particular time, I'm feeling like this needs comfort. It just needs some softness. So I'm going to start there. I think I'll bring my little
So
bowl in
it's
just to,
really, do you need to do clearing or harmonizing?
right.
Right. And you're saying you need harmonizing right now.
Yeah, yeah. I
Nice.
didn't have that as a definition, but and I like to I'll bring a little, just a ping just to get me started. feel some light language wanting to come in. Elore sanamore shukrare ene eta are esala are sanamo orore etanamo areki. Ela hare ene etoro orea sanama are ekiana are kiare kia. This is for everybody. Elore sotorora shane etare nanore sanama areamo orekia. Yina kare esela hare enore sanokura shamukura sanama arekia. This is about opening the heart to speak the truth of our hearts. And also about when we're in that space of truth and integrity, that creates the greatest alignment with our soul. So I could probably sit here another 10 minutes or so, I think, for the sake of our conversation. So my throat feels a ton lighter, and I would say there's still some heart that wants some attention. Um, but I'll leave it there for now.
You know, when you were doing that, there's one component that I've sometimes found is hard for people to do, not very often, but occasionally.
Mm.
And I saw you're not just making sound, you're sending that sound to that place.
Yes.
And some people I've found can't fathom what that means.
Hmm.
It's an interesting thing because it's simply your intention. It's like a visualization, right? It's
Right.
like, but it's more than, but you visualize it until you make it, until you actually run that energy,
Yeah.
right? So you're actually, I mean, because you can even do that with silent sound,
Yes.
where you go, and then what I found is really good to do it on the out breath,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But that to be able to actually focus your sound of your voice on a part of the body, you just do it. And again, any thoughts on that? Because that's kind of key to it. Because I saw
Sure.
you weren't
Yeah.
you
Like
weren't
it's,
just doing sound. You were like,
yeah.
yeah,
Thank you for that. Yeah, I kind of see it as this equation, right? Intention plus sound equals, creation of something different. Um, One of the things my teacher taught me, which was helpful, is to kind of imagine like you've placed it in a cocoon of light. So you could imagine, your throat or your heart or, wherever um, in that. And then just, and another way I teach my clients too is like begin to practice with the breath to assist your mind in that connection with that part of your body. So if we could almost imagine our breath coming in as like a substance, like a liquid gold, and beginning to direct it to that body, wherever that body part is, to me, that helps create the connection. But really, as you say, like it's really just our intention. I'm going to sing to my, twisted ankle right now. I'm going to sing to my heart right now. And, again, I think there's like, the brain wants to have a lot of things to, feel responsible for. But I feel like once we create that intention, that autopilot of the sound will be directed there. Um,
and people, what I've learned is people do it in different ways. I mean, I I have people send the sound of love to places, and one time,
yeah.
so I got where I ask everybody, what did you do? And out of like 40 students, almost every single person said something different. I send a beam of light there. There's purple sparkles come down from above, or it comes into my heart, through my heart, out with with a hathor, right? It's like,
Right.
or I've got a little pink elephant that helps, right? It's like, okay, however it
Yeah.
works, it's great.
However, you're right, because we're all so unique, and the way our intuition and our energy communicates with us is so different. For instance, like one of the other things I do with sound is I play with manifesting and creation, right? So there's just a real kind of abstract way to think about what you're going to create. So this just kind of came to me as I'm playing around one day, and it was like, I don't know, let's say I want to manifest a new pair of shoes, just something silly, right? So then I would take kind of my heart and I would expand it out into the quantum field. And for me, I visualize the quantum field as like this, universe, this network of stars that are all interconnected, right? Then and I'm the quantum field. Out here's the quantum field, but my, my animal's making weird noises. And out in the quantum field is my pair of shoes, right? And so I'm gonna start gathering up, in my mind's eye, all the pieces of my shoes that haven't yet come into form. And so I'm just gathering up the energy of this pair of shoes that I want to manifest into physical form. Once I feel like I've kind of, tuned in, I've felt it, like all the things we've been taught about manifesting, right? We feel it, we visualize it, we see it as now. Gather all those particles, which I see as stars, and then I'll start toning or in bringing light language in to bring that into my sound, right? Because the sound is the energy actually taking form, right? And you're probably more into the science part of it, but how I see it is like once you've created these particles and you bring them into the sound wave, you've already manifested a component of these shoes as form, right?
You know, Alice Bailey, who channels an ascended master,
Mm-hmm.
got all these different books. They're written back in the 20s and 30s.
Okay.
She almost says the exact same thing,
Oh,
that
really?
there's actual a secret sound that you have to make to actually manifest it after you've visualized it here. And
Interesting.
you just said that.
Yeah.
That's really critical. It's kind of like it's the trigger of it happening.
Right. Yeah, and I think your secret sound is really just what are how how much of your mind and ego is going to get out of the way to allow that to come through organically and naturally as your own, as your own expression.
Yeah, I think that's really important is after you do the process to let it go.
Yeah, yeah, and let the sound go, right? Like, because of all the practices I've done over the years, whether I'm working on myself or a client with sound, I'm sure you've experienced this. Here's an interesting little story about it where this is more about the crystal bowls, but one time I was working with a client and I'm doing the bowls and I'm toning and singing and this it just felt like, harmony. Like where you just feel like, oh, it's so juicy and warm and like you're out of your own way and you're like in this beautiful allowance. And then the bowls kind of sound a certain way and your voice sounds a certain way and you're like, oh, that's so pretty. Well, then next client comes in and I'm like, ooh, I'm on a roll today with my sound. Well, I start playing the bowl, totally different sound, right? Clunky, just dissonance, and I bring my voice in, totally different sound, right? Because I'm in a whole different direction, and our energy with my client's energy is intermingling here, and so it completely changed not just my voice but the sound of the bowl as well. I got chills as I say it. And so I'm just like, oh my goodness, like that's so incredible that you would, have, because it's not about me, right? It's about the exchange of energy that we're having with wherever we're, communing with or directing the sound towards.
I got a big question for you, and
Uh-oh.
it's something I think about and haven't really figured out. And and I know there's a cosmic answer out there, and it's really, people may think, well, I want to manifest this relationship.
Hmm.
Well, that person's got their free will too. Or I want to manifest this, right? It's like there's a big question, and there's one thing that I realize is critical is to manifest things in alignment with source.
Yeah.
Because if you're just manifesting things for yourself, that could be cool, but it's like, I mean, maybe that's what you need. But if you're manifesting something where it's for you over somebody, so it's really critical to when you manifest something and it's kind of what you were just saying, if that second bowl playing, it's a different situation. You can't just say, "Oh, you're going to be perfect now."
Right. Yeah.
Right? You got to really, it's like you really got to listen for what can be manifested. Any
Right.
thoughts on that? Because that's like a big one, huh?
Yeah, it's funny you're bringing it up because I feel like we're in such a deeper fine tuning of that alignment, and it's like things that I've created in the past where maybe my mind has overridden, what was true and I did it anyway, and let's just even for for this particular thing, like take the other person out of the equation, right? And it's just not quite in alignment. It's not doing harm, right? It's not overriding anybody else's blankety blank, but it's just not quite source soul alignment. And so now I feel like the universe before would be like, we're just going to gently nudge you over here, or we're going to let you go ahead and do that. And, we'll deal with it later or we'll redirect you later. Now it's like, it's just like, it just feels like everything that is out of alignment, in, obviously if you're being conscious and attention and paying attention is really not going to work. Right. Like it just, to me, it just feels like we, as, we move along this path, like the misalignments will be really quickly corrected, and sometimes it could be a real big 2x4 over the head, right? Sometimes it can be a gentle nudge, but I think that for me anyway, and I've been discussing this with my colleagues and stuff, that those feedback mechanisms of what's aligned and not aligned, like if are really really stronger. And I think also based on what we're talking about, if we're willing to sit with ourselves every day, right, we're really sharpening that tool. And so then we're not even making those decisions out of a line because we're already feeling it already, you know and one of the things I love about sound healing, of course having to do with the throat, is like, really assisting us to live in our truth, right? Speak our truth, create from truth. And, one of the things that's really been popping up lately is like, where do we just kind of still fudge the truth by maybe saying, like, oh, I'm fine, don't worry about it, and we're not fine, but we don't want to have those challenging conversations. That's part of why my throat's been up in arms today, is I had to have a challenging conversation. And, maybe like 10 years ago, I could have told a little white lie about it and said, oh, no, we can't do that right now. But I can't do that, right? I have to be in my full truth, my full integrity, despite somebody having an adverse reaction and they probably don't like me anymore. So how often have we compromised our voices, right? Our throat chakras, our truth, because we want to make somebody else feel better. And so
It's
I feel like,
perfect.
back to your question, we're like really being, I don't want to use the word tested. We're really practicing that alignment, in a much deeper way.
Okay, so I've got a little throat chakra thing that
Okay.
something I need to say to someone, and I haven't said it. You want to see me do mine and see what you think?
Yes,
See, give
please.
me pointers.
Yes.
Okay, and it's kind of, I think it's kind of tied into my neck a little bit, because it's like whenever there's a little stress, my neck hurts a little more. Okay, so my first thought is to go to the sound of the pain there and match it. Ah! Ah!
How'd that feel?
It was good
Yeah.
because I needed to get something out, so I did the intense thing. But then, just like you, I felt like I just need to harmonize it. It's like, regardless of whether I can say that or not, I need to feel harmony in my own system.
Right.
And even by feeling that harmony, that gives me more peace and capability and more access to the energy to be able to say what I need to say.
Yeah. And it felt, and if I'm off, let me know. It felt like, so often we are attached to what people's response will be. And so we literally carry the burden in the anticipation of how it will be, how they'll react. And then there's also like some undercurrent of fear of, oh, well, what if they leave me? Or what if they don't like me anymore? Or what if, you know, this relationship is over if I
Or
do
they
that?
post on social media.
What, right? Whatever. Like, and it's interesting, like, what's the backlash, right? Like there's this undercurrent of fear of like self-preservation, which is why we wouldn't communicate that truth in the first place. And that feels like, the heaviness. Like I felt when I kind of tuned in, and it's like that person was sitting on your shoulders there of like, I got to carry, not only the stuff I have, but I got to carry their stuff too, in anticipation of whatever's gonna, be the unfolding.
I think this is so juicy. It's so important because it's so common. It's probably the number one stress that people have.
Right.
What is someone else going to think?
Right.
And it's not a bad thing because we're trying to be kind.
Right.
So underlying it is actually kindness.
Right.
But that kindness, wanting to be kind, stresses the hell out of us.
And telling the truth can distress us, right?
Right, right.
And how many times have we maybe just wiggled the truth a little bit, and that pulls us out of integrity? And it also is like a mini betrayal to ourselves, because then we've actually actualized a false truth, a lie essentially, right? To protect the other person, or to protect whatever, or protect ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Or to protect from a reaction.
And that's why I think when we engage in sound, we are not only, you know, supporting our other parts of our body and our emotions and our healing and our harmonizing, but we're also practicing that throat opening, because we really have betrayed ourselves significantly. Even just like you talked about earlier, like with kids doing their voices and then eventually they shut down. And that's a mini betrayal, right? Because somebody said, hey, don't be loud, don't talk, don't say that, don't say it this way, don't act that way, and we start shutting our true nature down, right?
Okay, I got something to figure out, and I think you're the perfect person to help with this. So, I've always thought that kids should be able to make sound all over the place, and we should teach them to make the sound of how they're feeling. But it'd be a really noisy world.
Right.
I mean, oh my God, just go to the grocery store and everybody's like, ah, right, you know. So it's interesting. So it just occurred to me in this moment that we really need to have safe places to make sound. In fact, there should be a little room in the corner of all grocery stores.
Right. Just get it out,
Right,
right? Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. And we should have public, sound rooms. I mean,
Yeah.
there's outside, of course, but at home, that's probably the number one thing to be real. At home, there should be a sound room
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you're making sound, you're too noisy, just go in there and
Right.
keep going. Don't stop it.
Yeah. You're reminding me of this one time where I was being facilitated by a healer, and it was like this big ugly energy that needed to come out. Like it was dread and fear and anger. And so like I didn't quite get it all out during the session. And so I drove myself to the woods, And I found the most secluded location that I could have found in this grove of trees, sat by the tree, and just screamed this is before I really got into sound healing. Screamed and yelled and whatever guttural horrific sounds that were needing to come through. It was the most cathartic healing experience, and of course there's tears and other emotions that I once I began the sound, like, it allowed everything else to unleash, right? And then I'm not holding these toxic dense energies in my body anymore, right? And so if we had our sound room at home, how clearer could we be on a regular basis? I hated COVID because I couldn't make my sound. I could, but my family is like, our house has this like really echoey chamber, and so I just love being as loud as I can in the shower, whether I'm singing sweetly or I'm guttural keening, and letting that release. And I can even think several instances of clients on my table where I'm like, look, you've got to move your voice right now. And I have to plug my ears sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I got this little problem since when I scream too loud, my it hurts my neck.
Yeah.
So I got to be a little careful. I turn my head that way. It's not so bad. Okay, so you want to clear your sacral chakra for everybody, or clear everybody's sacral chakra in
Let's
the whole world?
Yeah. Well, we're all connected, so let's
Right,
let's
right,
do that. Yeah.
right.
And you mentioned earlier you saw an orb. I've seen like 3 or 4 pass your way since we
Oh,
started. There's just
cool.
another one floating in the
Yeah,
background.
we're not alone.
Um, yeah, and I have my heart bowl, so I'm feeling heart and sacral. So let's do that.
Okay.
And I left my thing on. So, all right. So for everybody listening, bring this over here. I would encourage you to bring your own voice into this. And, I think we're going to start with a heart and see where we'll go. Um, because that feels most prominent for me right now. Um, but if you haven't, hopefully you're listening to this conference, you've dabbled in sound healing before, but if you haven't, just begin to hum. Okay. And I'm just going to let whatever comes through my voice, light language, sound, just do it, whatever. But if you're just getting started, you could just do some soft toning. Don't worry about the note, or you could just do some humming. And so we're going to begin to direct that hum as we talked about earlier. We're going to start with our hearts. And I love to bring the intention, right? Intention plus sound equals the creation of that. So perhaps our intention here is to just open our hearts to be in alignment with more truth and love for ourselves, and just keep it nice and simple. And then we'll see where else shows up. And we're going to use David here as a proxy. So, all right. I'm going to use a different. So if you'd like to place your hand on your heart, that can also be a nice way to connect into this area. And we're simply going to just bring presence here to start. Perhaps acknowledging any physical sensations. Perhaps noticing if there's a sense of, a place where we've guarded our hearts or had to contain. Or maybe we have some belief systems around it's not safe to open our hearts fully to love. We get a little nervous about vulnerability. So whatever that is for you, just kind of tuning in. What does it feel like in your heart right now? What would it feel like to open and receive just beautiful waves of love coming from within you, and also just coming, from source, from Divine Mother, Divine Father. And could you breathe into your heart space to open it just a little more? Would it feel safe to receive more love into your heart space? As I'm tuning in here, I do feel like there's a little bit of resistance. And so could we just take a few breaths? And I'm going to bring in the sound to harmonize, as David said, to bring that comfort to the places that you've had to protect your heart, where your heart was broken or wounded. So it feels a little safer to soften these layers of protection and allow the heart to open to more love. And where else in your body, perhaps feeling the sacral, perhaps another place, just humming and toning and sending your love to this part of you. Maybe sending peace, maybe sending forgiveness, maybe it's compassion. You can ask the consciousness of your body, what do you need? And layer that into the sound, right? I'm feeling forgiveness for some of you. And we don't have to attach to like, what is the sound of forgiveness? We just create the intention to send the energy of forgiveness to this part of ourselves. And perhaps this part of your body wants to make its sound as well. So what would this part of your body sound like if it were to make its own, had its own voice? And it can also be helpful to invite in, the support and healing of Mother Earth, or maybe of your guides, or an ascended master, asking to sing, to tone, to sound their blessings and healings and love that they're sending you. Ikonya maresi areshe erare sata area shana ere era areana. Clearing some more energy. Sorry for the burping. um, yeah, that was funny. It kind of went from, oh, let's bring the comforting and the harmonizing to, oh, let's see what this sounds like. Like my sacral chakra was angry, in case you didn't notice. And then it was like a kind of a Mother Mary, Kuan Yin kind of energy came in at the end. So we get to play with it in all sorts of different ways.
Nice. That was sweet.
One time I was snorkeling in Belize and we were swimming with these like nurse sharks and stingrays. And I was just, like when you're one with the ocean, and it was just, I was feeling so just blissed out, being in the water, floating in the water and, allowing the waves to kind of take me around and just kind of being, receptive to that. And I remember getting back on the boat and we were, kind of going back to shore fast enough where nobody could hear me. And I started just singing this song and I had never heard it before. I wish I recorded it because I was like, oh, this is a beautiful song. It wasn't my voice, it was whatever the song was. And I was like, oh, I think I'm singing the ocean, and I was like, just, as happy as can be. And so I just felt like sharing that. Oh, and I have one more story too that just popped in I want to share um, regarding sound. One other time I was in Glastonbury and we were at the White Well. Glastonbury is known as the heart chakra. And so at the White Springs, there's still a lot of energy moving. Sorry. At the White Springs, it's in a cave and there's these pools. And there's a couple pools at the top. Well, people go in there to sing in tone. It's so magical. And so anyhow, at this time there was only like two or three people in there and I was up at this top spring with my feet in the water in the cold water and I start just toning and then this song came through similar to the ocean and I start singing this song, not with words, just with this harmony, this song. And the person on the other side at the other thing, we started singing the same song. And I know to this day I never saw that person. I don't know who it was. And we started harmonizing and singing together and it was like, wow. So those are my little
Nice.
stories that popped in I wanted to share.
So tell me, when did light language start happening for you?
Mm. So as I mentioned before we hopped on, many, many years ago, Judy Satori, our light language pioneer, um, I was drawn to her light language and I'm like I got to figure out how to do this for myself, right? And so I took one of her courses, but my mind and this is for everybody because I know a lot of people, want to learn light language and they're like, why can't I? Well, you're not learning it, you're allowing it, right? And so, I have a pretty big mental or maybe had mental attachment to it. And so I was just getting in my own way. So, long story short, I took her course and then I just decided, you know what? I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to start playing with sound. And I did it while I was driving. Because your brain kind of goes into that theta state. And so I would just start making noises, like making it up, like, am I doing it? Am I not doing it? Doesn't matter, right? I just allowed myself free reign to make silly sounds. And then one day, I think I finally got out of my own way and I was like, you know, I'm not making this up anymore. So it was real gradual for me. Like I had to practice getting out of my own way and practice just allowing until finally it felt natural. And then I used to do this one thing. So that, to answer your question, that probably started, time is so weird. Maybe like 2017, somewhere around there. And then was so freaked out about it. I knew I had to share it though. Like it was that thing, okay, well, now that you've asked for it, now that you've allowed it, what are you going to do? You're not going to keep it to yourself. And so I was like so freaked out. And I started doing, I had been doing sound healing with the bowls. And so then I just said, well, now I have to offer the light language. And don't you know, every single person who came didn't know light language, had never heard of it, and I'm like freaking out. They're gonna, burn me at the stake. But every single person who came and many since have all been activated to light language. They've all opened up to it. They're now, practicing it and playing with it. And
So, how is it different doing a treatment on somebody as opposed to doing it on yourself for you?
um I would say not a lot different other than maybe my own getting in my own way for myself.
Hmm.
I think it's a lot, for me anyway, it's a lot easier to get myself out of the way when I'm, holding space for somebody else versus like if I'm working with myself, then I might, get too involved. But excuse me, there's something clearing there. Interesting. Um but yeah, it doesn't feel very different.
So, you want to do a little thing on me? The
I
benefits
have
of
been, but yeah.
the benefits of
Right?
doing this with
Do,
people.
do you have something specific?
Oh God. Well, I could tell you the most basic thing, but it's not a big problem these days. I've got blood clots in my left leg.
Okay.
I think it was from COVID, but could be that relationship a long time ago. You never know.
Yeah. Okay. Um I'm also feeling heart for you.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to tune in. I do better with my eyes closed, so apologies for that. And by the way, for everybody listening, um, you can still receive this too, even though we're targeting David here. I can't even start doing any light language or toning because I'm sorry, the energy is already clearing. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to start with the heart because that's really where it's just pinging me. And then we'll move down to the intention. Lore sana more shakiara reane eta hara asana esane edareki. Also feels connected to the throat. So as I'm doing this, David and everybody listening, just kind of taking some big deep breaths and just opening to receive, opening and allowing, imagining like your body becomes, kind of spaced out into your energetic field to where we're creating space in the cells. We're allowing this access of these energies to go into the cells, into the DNA at that subatomic level. No cresa purosa dimire supra sede per sanamore seta areta na yetara araki. Shoni kare isho mohresa name esa tarabrasa nama arakiata araki. And we also include the intention that whatever the has surfaced, in this lifetime, in this body, we include all lifetimes, all dimensions, all realities. This because there's some feels like there's some past life connections here. Kumurreseta borresamo resha nemeresho koreasa ne eso korarea na eta hara arasa namo orasa namo orekia. And just an invitation to really drop into your body, lower half of your body, and Mother Earth. Opening the feet, opening the legs to allow the extension of all of your energy and body to commune down into the heart, into the core of Mother Earth here. And almost like a surrendering into her energy, and then a softening of any place you're holding or trying to contain. So we open up flows in your chakras and your meridians where this beautiful river, this crystalline river of light, begins to sweep through and swirl through your whole body and energy field. Taking breaths wherever you're noticing any place you might be holding any energy in your body. And working on the legs, we also address the root chakra. So breathing down into that whole pelvic floor, opening. Just being willing to let go of whatever we're carrying from the past. We also ask to gather up all aspects of our being, any and all parts, all levels and layers of our consciousness, gathering and emerging all of our energy back into the wholeness, returning into oneness within ourselves. We ask that the divine feminine balance with the divine masculine, also in that oneness. Asking to just bring forgiveness into any places there was conflict between the masculine and feminine that we hold in our bodies. And as we bring our energy back, we also reclaim our power as light. As we let go of the past, we also let go of any place we've been a victim. E torre se pare se nemire so torora shakia ne ere yare anochre esa namoro so torore shikia ya yereki. In any place you've been afraid of your own power, just letting that go down into Mother Earth here. De lora sa porre se peresa namo rabana more kiana ariana kia. I could probably go on, but I also recognize we're sorry. I did get kind of lost in it. I was like, I should probably stop, but I could probably go a whole nother. I could go a lot longer because it feels like
Yeah.
there's a little more to do. So I'm going to continue that offline.
Cool, cool. That was so sweet. You went right to the core of the grief around relationship. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it went right to it. And it was perfect.
Yeah, I think um, our core wounds, right, are of abandonment, that perception of separation. And of course, it plays out in our parent relationships and all relationships.
In
And,
society.
and right. And where we feel that separate, that disconnection. And, yeah. And it's like, oh, it's not fully safe for me to be here because, I'm not
What we
being
all
fully
want
mine.
is
Yeah.
to get back to oneness,
Mm-hmm.
where there's indescribable love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anything else you want to share before we end?
Um, I think there's an offer to um, participate in a course that I taught. It's 5 weeks and 5 modules, and just opening up to light language and opening up to sound healing. It's self-paced right now. I do about once a year run it live, but right now you can take it, which means it's at a deep, deep discount. So if you would like to get activated to light language, if you'd like to practice opening your voice and your throat and your magical sound healing, that's an opportunity for you.
Excellent.
And lastly, just I've had so much fun with you, David. It's our first time connecting like this, and so truly honored, and I'm just overjoyed with like how much fun this is.
It was a pleasure. Total pleasure. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Let's do the sound of joy.
Okay. That was like a fairy.